Meat eaters, what type of meat, if any, is off your menu for ethical reasons? Primates, cetaceans, brain and lymphatic tissue of any animal, dogs. I don't eat pork or any pig meat. I used to work on a farm where I raised pigs. 5 adults and something like 40 piglets. I fell in love with them. I used to just go on my off hours and hang out in the piglet pen. They would just leap all over me and give me kisses. They're massive smart. I can't eat them now any more or less than I don't eat dogs. They're untouchable. There was a runt piglet. I nicknamed him Slayer because he probably shouldn't have survived. But he did. He was hardcore. So I had to give him a hardcore name. He was a runt named Slayer. It perfectly fitted him. Ortolan. It's not tasty enough to make it worth the torture. Anything that is cooked alive. Turtle meat because I like turtles. Cephalopods. Those little suckers are smart. Like at least dolphin smart. Never liked the idea of eating something that was cooked alive. Shark fin. I won't support anything that is obscenely wasteful. When I was 14 and went fishing with my dad, I caught a shovel-nose shark. Absolutely gorgeous creature. It was almost as big as I was. We took it home and I honestly thought it would feed all 8 of us. It was a holiday, so it was my family and my uncle's family. Anyway, dinner gets served. Everyone else had chicken. And I was served what I could only describe as cooked fish that looked like the size of maybe 2 or 3 big sausages. It turns out that only the tail meat is actually edible. I was mortified. Killed a giant animal only to basically eat 2 hot dogs worth of actual meat. Never went fishing with my dad again because it turned out he knew that when I caught it. If I had have known, I would have thrown it back. Octopus. I'm pretty sure those little homies are semi-sapient. Plus when the space cephalopods show up, I want to be clear I didn't eat their little cousins. Long pig. Any animal with a name that I know. We raise chickens. Thought we'd wind up eating them after they stopped laying eggs. But my kids named the flock and I couldn't bring myself to do it. Human. I don't eat seafood in general because I have the palate of a child. But I tell myself it's because I don't want to contribute to overfishing. I don't do humans. Their faces are just too realistic. Veal. I remember being a kid and my mum made us breaded veal and said it was chicken, and when we finished, announced, "You just ate baby cow." I cried so much. Lol. Anything's dick. It just seems mean. Horse. But that's a personal reason because I've spent most of my life around horses. I don't begrudge anyone who does eat horse meat. It's just something I can't do. Otherwise, I'll eat any meat, but I prefer locally raised, pastured meat and will happily pay more for meat that is raised ethically and not factory farmed. Edit to add, I would not eat dog or cat either because I see them as companion animals. But again, not going to judge someone who does. Reminds me of a joke. Forest ranger catches a guy hauling an endangered mountain lion from the woods into his pickup. He stops the guy and the hunter says, "I'm only hunting to feed my family." Ranger then says, "Look, I'm a hunter too. I'm going to let you off with a warning this time. But I'm curious. What do these things taste like?" Hunter says, "Kind of a cross between a bald eagle and white rhino." Veal. Won't touch it. Octopus. There's no way I'm eating an animal that intelligent that was also given a rough hand by nature as it is. Plus I consider it to be my favorite animal. I've also only eaten octopus twice and both times it was rubbery and tasteless. It wasn't even worth it. Anything you need to cook alive, whether the animal can feel it or not. It just feels so cruel to me. Foie gras, the poor duck suffers so much. Dogs and cats, probably any common pet. I recently swore off octopus. Having watched the documentary, My Octopus Teacher, I came to the full realization of their intelligence, and can not longer, in good conscience, consume them. I no longer eat beef. When I was in high school, my boyfriend at the time was a farmer. He introduced me to his cow and I instantly fell in love. I thought it was so cool he had a pet cow, and I volunteered to feed it almost every day and even named it. I thought it was strange he never named his pet. One day, he told me he was taking the cow that I named Bud to fair. Me being 15 and incredibly naive didn't know what that all entailed. So I was all too happy to help out during fair week. Feeding, bathing, and giving Bud all of the love and head scratches imaginable. Bud did really well during show, and he told me that he sold him for a high price. Naturally, I was incredibly upset that he sold the cow. But since it was his to begin with, I didn't put up much of a fight. About a month later, we were at his house eating tacos. He asked me if I liked the meat. I was confused, but agreed that it was really good. And that's when he dropped the atomic bomb that I was actually eating my beloved Bud. The person who bought Bud off of my boyfriend shared his meat after butchering. It was like being fed your dog or cat. Every time I think about eating beef, it makes me physically sick. I haven't touched it in 17 years. Bluefin tuna. They are almost all gone. I could not eat a small child unless it was with tomato ketchup. Apes. They are our cousins, and if I wanted to put my cousin in my mouth I'd move to Alabama. Any fish I don't catch myself. Because the oceans are being proper fucked by overfishing and there's no sustainability to it, and battery farmed shit. Because it's a hellscape, I'm aware there's a massive problem with meat eating in general. Both environmentally and morally. I've tried a couple of times to wean myself off it. I'm down to 3 dinners a week instead of every lunch and dinner. And as soon as I can buy lab-grown meat I'll never look back. Brains. Rabbit, since we have a pet bunny. Chilean sea bass. Mostly because there is no such fish, and it is instead used as a marketing ploy to sell you the almost certainly endangered Antarctic toothfish. Veal. Rocky Mountain oysters. The more I read this thread, the more I realize that I probably shouldn't be eating any meat in general since I have such strong ethical and environmental concerns for so many different types of meat. Clowns. For some reason they taste funny. Veal. Combination of horrific treatment of the animals and a bad experience when I was a kid that left me spewing out both ends after eating veal. Pigs. They're so smart, and a while ago there was news about the pig farms in our country that they're often basically tortured. Things don't happen according to the rules. I guess the farmers need to let off some steam because they basically take out their anger on those little piggies. Octopus. They're incredibly intelligent. Veal. Foie gras and veal. I just can't. It's too cruel. A bit late to the party, so it will probably be buried, but I couldn't find any mention of it, and I feel like it's a perfect Reddit answer. It's not meat that you eat, but it involves meat and is something you consume. Habushu. It's made from rice and is similar to sake, but the main draw of it is the venomous snake inside the bottle. I'll let an excerpt from the Wikipedia page do all the talking. There are 2 methods of inserting the snake into the alcohol. The maker may choose to simply submerge the snake in the alcohol and seal the bottle, thus drowning the snake. Alternatively, The snake may be put on ice until it passes out, at which point it is gutted, bled and sewn up. When the viper is thawed and awakens, it will quickly die in an aggressive striking manner, which is what most producers look for. Several of my immediate family members have been vegetarian since I was a small child, and I have always been the counter to it with trying virtually every type a dead animal I can. No one in my family is a preachy or judgmental vegetarian, and I don't rub it in their faces. It's a healthy relationship, but I was just pointing out the opposite extremes and which one I'm on. I've eaten every normal type of meat you can get in a grocery store. Most game species. All the exotic beef jerkies. Stuff like kangaroo. I won't do dog or horse. Although with some of my world travels the latter might have happened without my knowledge, depending on how trustworthy supply chains are. But habushu is the one that truly bothers me to think about. I've been out in Okinawa with co-workers, and they always have bottles on display at bars to entice foreigners, but I refuse to touch the stuff. It surprised the people I was with because they generally assume I'm down for most culinary adventures, but fuck that. It's just disgusting. At least with veal and foie gras there is an argument that it makes a unique difference to the end product. But I've never tried it either. With habushu there is no difference whatsoever to the booze other than the look of the bottle. Factory farm meat, those places are horrific. Veal because baby cow, on a lower end lamb. Veal. So fucked up. Octopus is up there too. Human and rats. After watching Seaspiracy I have made good attempts to not eat seafood. There have been about 3 times where I did just to not inconvenience others. But besides those 3 times I haven't had any in about 1.5 years-ish, idea being that we keep overfishing, and if we want to give those environments a chance to build back up numbers we need to reduce consumption. I'd like to think if we enforced a reduction in commercial fishing we could see populations go back up to our benefit. But getting people onto the idea is likely not gonna happen. Foie gras. Well, if it's already bought by someone else, and he won't have to buy more because of me, I'd probably eat it. But I don't wanna buy this beef that's not strictly grass-fed. If you've ever smelled the feedlots near Amarillo you'll understand that nothing humane can occur in places like that. The result is I don't eat beef much because grass-fed is pricey. I'm okay with that. Octopus. They are crazy smart and pretty much the coolest creatures alive. Any pet or endangered species unless I'm starving. I won't eat anything's brain. Prion diseases are scary shit and I don't fuck with that. Yak. Because there's a lack of yak, despite websites promoting eating yak over beef. Yak has become an endangered species. From what I have read, yak in the wild has become an endangered species. If this information is inaccurate, my sincere apologies to all. It was not my intention to include any non-factual content. I won't eat goat meat anymore because I think goats are cool. Monkey. Too close to human.